Alright guys,
I thought that was a misconception that the therapist sits
House
on
of
a couch.
Ashes.
I mean, well,
Listening
I guess
to the
they sit on
RGP
couch, right?
podcast,
The
and this will be the last
therapist,
episode for
I guess,
today.
stays the comfy chair.
Yeah,
Like, I
because
don't
usually
think
when we
you're-
talk about get up off the couch, that's
Okay.
like a, you know, like a positive.
Yeah,
That's what I
I don't. Yeah, exactly. It's not get up off the couch, your time is up. But I mean, the couch is visible in the room. I think the therapist should be able to sit on a couch as well. You know, therapists have a big mental burden in terms of taking care of other people's mental health. But Tori is incredibly prepared and meticulously thought through this game to the point where, Rob, she has color coordinated her pre-game wardrobe due to certain psychological studies and culture associations just to get into people's heads as to what they should be thinking about her.
It's not possible.
She's going to talk about this in her interview with us?
That is definitely
Yeah,
him.
let's put a pin in that until
It's this
tomorrow. She
fucking
has
place,
a
Jason.
lot of thoughts about
I'm telling you, I saw him
what
die.
she's doing pre-game,
All
what
due
she's gonna
respect,
do
buddy.
in the season
You're not
as
your
well.
usual self.
She comes from a
You know for
family
sure.
of Survivor super fans too, so she feels a bit more added pressure to do it not only for her, but
That's
for
a
her
trap.
household.
You
So
don't know that.
Tori, I think, is really going to be an
Don't
interesting
leave men
personality,
behind.
no matter how she does.
Semper Fi.
Okay. And then, who
Semper
else is
Fi.
here in this, the sixth member?
Last up is
Hey.
Zach
wanna tell me what's
Wertenberger.
going on here?
Zach
We heard Joey
is
through the
the
tunnel.
final
Great
member.
name.
We heard Joey.
I mean, it's a
Was
lovely,
him all right?
fantastic name.
Gonna
He's the
rescue
last
you.
alphabetically
Good.
in the
I'll lead the
season.
way.
He's also near the bottom in terms of age. He is at 22. He is also a student. He looks a lot like Adam Klein to me. And
Yeah.
in his interview, you get a lot of Adam
Nick and
Klein
I are
vibes
doing
as
this
well.
alone.
Even he self-professes
Realize the
it.
consequences of this
We
cold
shall
check?
see. You know,
got
Adam
bigger
certainly
things
has a
to worry
reputation.
about.
He'll be going out there with fans
right,
as
Colonel.
well. I wonder if the association will be there for
You should stay
them
put.
as well. But Zach has that youthful eagerness to it, has that super fan energy, and
Oh, fuck you
specializes
too.
in speech and debate. So look,
Oh.
I know that inauthenticity might happen sometimes when you're preparing speeches and the like at tribal councils, but if Zach does have to speak his arguments when it comes to in front of other people, he at least has the structure to be able to do so.
Seeing in the chat, he looks a lot like Mike Bloom to me. Mike, do you have something to tell us?
All right. Yeah, if you rearrange the letters in my name, you get Zach Wertenberger. I apologize, everybody, that you have to find out this way. But do you remember that brief one-day period where I wasn't recording podcasts in May of 2021? I went out to play Survivor. I have to say it. I'm so sorry that it had to come out this way.
All right. Well, Mike will be rooting for you.
Thank you. Myself
Okay.
as well. I don't know how I do, so this will be very exciting too.
Yeah,
I
okay.
wiped my memory when I came back from Fiji just to enjoy
Good
the
move.
season.
Good move. Okay. Mike, anything else we want to say about Zach?
No, I'm excited to talk about how all these people are going to mesh tomorrow, right? On this tribe, we have 2 students. We have a good amount of, like, excitable younger super fans, a bit of, like, the older crowd represented as well. So, I mean, part of the fun is talking about these people individually, but then the other half of the fun is seeing how are these personalities going to mesh together, or will they not at all?
Yeah, very much looking forward to getting into listening to those first 6 interviews with you on the podcast. Again, be on the lookout for that coming to Rob as a podcast on Thursday. Mike, let's take a look at our next tribe. Now, what is this, Taku?
I believe it's
Taku
Taku.
Tuesday?
Yeah, exactly. Though Survivor airs on Wednesday. Never aired on Tuesdays. Once aired on Thursdays.
What the
But
fuck
yeah,
is
and
this?
Taku, I believe, is the name. I don't know. I remember pre-season. It turned out that we were saying it completely wrong. So I'm going to assume Taku and be waiting to be corrected by Jeff in a month or so.
Okay, all right. So, Fox, boy, what a great name. Sounds like an action movie star.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah. I'm about Jackson Fox right now. Yeah, so Jackson is a hospital transformer. He is from Texas. Has an interesting story. He is a trans man, and he transitioned. He's 48, only transitioned at 18. And he did so coming from like a Southern Baptist, really closed-in town. So he's obviously used to, realizing a lot about himself and making his way through uncomfortable situations. And so, I mean, he does say, like, basically, if I can go through survival.
Yeah. Wow. That's an incredible story.
Yeah, it's really awesome. our Tat King of the season.
Okay. Jackson, big Survivor fan, do we know?
He is, well, it's interesting, actually. He started watching the show on a dare, and now he is here playing Survivor. So, just shows the dominoes that could happen.
Wow, just goes to show the worst game of Truth or Dare ever. I dare you to watch Survivor.
Yeah, I don't know who he was playing with that thought that would be the good
Challenge
dare.
accepted.
Really planting the seed, right? Of like, all right, you better start binging this 40-season show. That's going to be the perfect dare.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so that's Jackson Fox.
Jackson Fox.
Okay. All right. Jackson Fox and Jonathan Young are buddy cops in a brand new procedural drama coming to CBS.
Do not, adjust your screen. This is not Grant Matos from Survivor Redemption Island. This is Jonathan Young. Jonathan Young is also barely is 29. So apparently, he's an owner of a beach services company, and he's owned it for 10 years. So, apparently he's basically like a beach babe, if you will. He says he's basically lived there. He's lived there his entire life. The beach essentially raised him, so I think it only makes sense to transplant him onto another one. He also has reality TV experience. Rob, I'm trying to remember on the reality TV rewind you did last year, did you talk about Endurance at all?
No, we did not.
So Endurance is a show that was sort of like a teenage version of Survivor. There were teenagers that played a game where they were paired up. They would compete in challenges. People weren't voted out. Instead, they competed in like a jank-ass game of rock, paper, scissors.
It's a Truth or Dare.
Yeah, I dare you to go watch Survivor when you're
dare you to watch Endurance. Yeah.
But Jonathan competed on Endurance when he was 14 years old. In the final season of Endurance. And so ever since then, he said, I know I'm going to make my way onto Survivor one day. And here he is. And he is someone who is already coming in being like, let me be your meat shield. So Jonathan is a very, very interesting person to talk about. If you have read his bio, there are certainly some very fun things that we get to discuss.
Okay. All right. Looking forward to that one. Okay. Here we go. Who's next, Mike?
All right, next up, let's see. Lindsay Galashevich, I believe is how you pronounce her last name.
What a great name.
I mean, listen, God help all these people that are able to try to, like, fit their names on the, legal forms or anything. Between Zach and Lindsay, like, I don't know, look out, any sort of bubbles that get filled on your SAT.
Still here, Joe?
Lindsay is a dietitian. She hails from New Jersey. If she could describe herself in one word, to quote Christy from BB23, it would be loud.
Do you hear me?
She is somebody who really prides herself on being, like, spunky, go-getter, tells it straight to your face, and she's hoping that there will at least be somebody that vibes with her with that same attitude on the beach.
Okay. Do we know what kind of dietitian she is?
So
you know anything about her? What she is? Her program?
I don't know if there is any sort of, like, I don't know, dish with Galashevich or anything like that. I think it's just generally like she consults with you about, like, your own nutritional plans. As someone who has a son that is currently going through some nutritional issues. Not to say that she's direct corollary, but the way she describes her job is like a lot of consulting, a lot of working through things rather than being like, hello, this is the Lindsay plan, and this is how you can get, fit in 30 days.
Wow, okay. For 26 days. I've got a
That's a big
plan.
Oh, is that like the 8-minute abs, 26-day diet?
Yeah. Yeah, works every time. Okay. So, all right, that's Lindsay. Where is she from?
She is from New Jersey.
Should never come here.
I mean, listen, we've got some good history to it. Let's remember the Survivor 40 Final 3.
Sure.
We're all from New Jersey. So, yeah, maybe it's in the water here. Maybe I should be drinking more water in New Jersey.
I think any dietitian would tell you, drink more water, Mike.
Very good point.
Yeah. Okay. Who's next?
Next up is Mariah. So her name is pronounced Mariah, like Carrie, Sharon. So Mariah is traditionally, by trade, a teacher-educator. I believe at the time she was filming, she is a stay-at-home mom.
Okay. Mariah, I see, had some recent tragedy.
Yeah, so Mariah lost her brother to COVID-19. In fact, and she talks about this in her bio, I believe her brother was one of the first nurse to die of COVID-19 in the United States, which is an incredibly tragic story, but it's foundational to her. She said that actually losing him had gave her that mental toughness and resolve to be able to really take on anything over the course of the game. So suffice it to say, the pandemic has really affected her outlook on life.
Really fucking
and so she really is one of these people coming in to the game with this attitude, right, of I just want to have an adventure. There are some discrepancies, as there always are, of people coming in for the experience, people just there for the money, people there to win, etc. And Mariah is really just looking to embrace the 26-day experience fully.
Yeah. Okay. Do we know her experience with Survivor?
So she actually talked about how when her son was born 20 years ago, he was a preemie, and she essentially was in the NICU for a couple of months, and Survivor was on. And so she just kind of found it happenstance, and then she was able to just sort of keep watching the show.
Wow. Okay. All right. Good background. All right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people, there's a real difference. There are a good amount of day oneers, I would say, in this cast. I would say probably the older people in the cast are more day oneers, but not too many, I would say, recent converts. Even the people that are relatively younger, like Romeo is somebody who's been watching since the very first season. So, I guess that's the more advanced age, I would say, generally, of this cast. Is you get a lot of people that were generally watching along, considering that was 20 years ago.
Okay. All right, Mike, who else is on this tribe?
All right, next up is Marianne. Marianne already kind of made a bit of a splash if you had watched the trailer for Survivor 42 that aired at the end of Survivor 41. She's the one making kind of exaggerated faces. And that is Marianne. Marianne is a self-professed weird one who's here to do it for the weird ones, to prove that you can be, break the HF.
Doing it for us.
Yeah, be annoying, be weird, be yourself, and you will do well in Survivor.
Wow. Okay. That changes everything.
Yeah, so she is someone who is very bubbly, very ebullient. She is also a seminary student as well, so her faith is incredibly important to her, as is a lot of members of this cast, which is going to be something interesting that we talk about as well in terms of people's connection. But Marianne just has a really good energy to her. Now, that is a double-edged sword. She does mention how talkative she can be, so we'll certainly talk about that in terms of her longevity. But I do think Marianne is going to be
this is back to the beginning. Shit.
She has already kind of broken the Survivor internet at the time we're talking about this, in that before she went out to play, I don't think before she even knew she was going to play, she tweeted a picture of herself being gonna pick my outfit for the Survivor marooning. Flash forward a couple years, and we're getting ready to watch her be in a Survivor marooning.
Yeah, that's really fun. Look forward to hearing more from Marianne. Anybody else in this tribe, Mike?
I am just checking one quick.
Hurry the fuck up.
I believe so.
Yes,
one more.
You may not be
Omar coming. Omar's here. Get this, Rob. Exotic animal veterinarian.
Uh-oh. Okay, so is he riding the success of Tiger King all the way to Fiji?
Success is a very interesting term, Rob. Infamy, I think, would be more appropriate, but, no, I mean,
successful for Netflix.
Omar is a big fan of the show. He is somebody who, has a very niche role. He talked about how 4 to 5% of vets become exotic animal veterinarians, so he's already used to not fitting himself into a box. In that regard, he seems to be one of the more inexperienced people when it comes to outdoors, which should be fairly interesting. Don't know if we're going to get into another David Wright situation in that regard, but really exciting. So Omar is another Canadian. He is from Ontario. Omar is, I believe, by my recollection, the third Muslim contestant in Survivor history. We had Ibrahim in Palau, we had Natalia in David vs. Goliath, and we have Omar here, and I believe he is the first Muslim Indian contestant as well. So again, breaking a lot of ground. Omar, I'm really excited for people to listen to his interview. I think Omar is a very fun person to talk to. We'll talk about it. No idea how he's going to do, But I think the way that he thinks about his life and the game and the life he has led so far is incredibly interesting.
Yeah, I think he's got to be a preseason pick if you are in a draft that rewards for analogy, specific animal analogy. I think he is the consensus #1 pick.
Oh, yeah. He made an animal metaphor in my interview with him. He's going to, listen, Sarah Lucina says, last time I was a cop, this time I'm going to be a criminal. Omar said, I'm going to look like a pigeon, but I'm going to play like an owl.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, if you ask me, like, do you want to play Survivor like a pigeon or an owl? I'm not sure necessarily which one I would pick off the top of my head, but I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, listen, pigeons are more well-fed, but I think owls are the ones that end up eating their prey alive, which I think is more visceral for Survivor. And Omar has one of the more fun bios as well that I'm really excited to get into with you later.
Okay. All right. So that's it for Taku.
Taku is Dunzo.
Taku tribe. Okay. So let's talk about the third and final tribe, Vati.
Yes, open up a whole vat full of Vati. And as I mentioned before, for whatever reason, a lot of the first contestants that I should mention, we'll get into the plugs later, but I'm doing my usual thing of putting out 2 exit interviews every day starting tomorrow. And I'm starting with the Vati. Entry interviews, yeah, I guess you should say preseason interviews. And I'm starting with Vati partly because a lot of people that just happen to be at the beginning of the alphabet are on the Vati tribe.
Okay. All right. Mike, who are we talking about first here in Vati?
All right, so this is Chanel. Chanel is an executive recruiter, currently lives in New York, and she is someone who, again, a lot of these people come from some sort of I would say corporate work, more white-collar job, as it were, but definitely feels like, especially the fact that she is in the people business in a manner of speaking, those skills are going to directly apply to the people game of Survivor.
Okay. Yeah, she's going to try to use her experience with the cell, Mike.
Yes, she has this strategy that she talks about, the cell, where essentially, you vetted a candidate and you need to convince somebody to join your group despite entertaining other offers. Sounds a lot like Survivor and Alliances, no?
Yeah, certainly. I can see it.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. So that is Chanel.
I'm ready.
Chanel. Okay, who else you got here?
All right, so next up, we have Daniel Strunk.
Daniel.
So a bit of a familiar name to fans of post-show recaps. If you listen to the Everything is Super podcast with Josh Rigler and Kevin Mahadeo, you might be familiar with a certain writer and an occasional guest by the name of Professor Strunk. This is he, Daniel Strunk, big Survivor fan, down to categorizing all of the episodes that he watches and podcasts that he listens to that sum up Survivor.
What do you mean he categorizes the episodes?
I mean, this is true Alexander Chester territory. He has a Google sheet where he tracks every episode that he has watched, the day he watched them, and how many times that he watched them. And just in which case, I don't know, if someone held a gun to his head and said, when did you watch season 11, episode 14 last, he'd be able to track down the exact date.
And then what are the, is it Ain't No Hershey Bar,
I don't know.
Worth Playing For?
He says that he gives a rating to the movies that he watches. I don't know if he rates the episodes. If there is this, if the D in IMDb stands for Daniel in this regard. I'm not entirely sure. But Daniel's interview, I'm putting up the written version tomorrow. It's really interesting. Daniel is incredibly self-effacing, but that also might make him the most in tune with himself as well. He is someone who is quite a literal survivor. He was diagnosed with leukemia as a child and was able to live through that, which certainly taught him the ideas of tenacity and going through some really tough things at a very young age. And I think that has really given him just this light but sort of self-deprecating way. And so we I think he's sort
okay. Mike, who else is here?
Alright, so next up, we say hi to Hi. Okay, now the jokes are officially over. So Hi is a data scientist.
I've seen ugly in my life.
He currently lives in New Orleans, but he actually immigrated with his family from Vietnam. And so Hi grew up in a very low-income household. He was a latchkey kid, so he spent a lot of time alone. He didn't have many friends growing up. But he did have exactly. But he did have Survivor, and so with Survivor, Hai was able to really like learn about the world, learn about other people as well. He also credits a bit with like, having, helping his parents sort of like transition into living with America, sort of serving as their go-between to like really accelerating almost like his maturation and his ability to be adaptable as well. Hai is coming in hot. Hai is a pretty big declaration, Rob.
They say the souls of the dead went deep underground to the House of Ashes,
there's no
where they lived on dust,
I don't even care about my initial try.
by the demons of the
Good for me, I'm
underworld.
betraying whoever I want to.
I can't even begin to comprehend
If it's good for you, but hi, you
Like
do
you,
you.
I also never believed.
Don't worry about us.
Look
We'll be fine.
around you.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Look,
you
get that money, Hai.
Lord, look
There's
what
a
we
certain
have
amount of
seen.
doing it for the fans, right? Especially as a fan, when you come on and
We
you're
are
like,
trapped in
I
the
want to make
Sumerian
good
temple.
TV. Is that what you want to make good TV? And Hai is someone who I think, I mean, look, I wouldn't say that he's purely doing it for the needs of it all, but he is certainly someone who's like, I know what I like on Survivor,
foreign
and I
hell.
want to play that game
I guess
that
you should
I like
at least
to
know my
watch.
name.
Mhm.
Nick K.
Okay.
Sergeant.
Looking forward to hearing more about Hai's
Salim
story.
Osman, Lieutenant,
Mike, who else you have?
Iraqi Army.
All right, this
Jenny.
is Jenny. So Jenny is a creative director. So she is used to working in a corporate environment prior to. Unfortunately, she did lose her job in the pandemic. So she sort of looked at this as like
Solid copy,
sort of like what
LT.
we talked about with
I
Mariah.
see her like,
just
keep moving forward.
Hey, you know
I'm
what?
just
Might
ahead.
as well try
Over.
new things. I believe she is in her early 40s, so she's like not a midlife crisis, but like sort of a pivoting of
friends,
life.
but they're
and
not doing
what is
anything
important.
dumb.
She is someone who is used to sort of going in and taking charge. She tells a story about having to walk in as the leader of a new team that had been led in a certain direction, and she essentially had to like reorient them and lead them towards something else. And so she thinks that's going to apply a lot to Survivor.
Okay.
Down on the fucking floor!
Do we know anything about
Stop pointing
Jenny's
your guns
familiarity
at
with
me.
the show?
Yeah.
All right,
so
everyone,
Jenny
take a fucking
is,
second. It's not
someone
hostile.
who, Jenny has
I
watched
don't
the show
want to
for
hurt
a
you.
while. Actually,
Your uniform
her
tells me
entry
something
point
different.
was none
Drop
other
your
than
fucking
Russell
weapon.
Hantz.
Do it now.
So
No.
season 19
You
was the
lower
first
yours
one that we
first.
watched.
Drop
It
your
played
weapon
what she
before I
calls a
fucking drop you.
transformative game, so I don't
Pull
know
that
if she
trigger, and I
will
swear to
carry
Alabama and the
her
40
over
Thieves, it's the last
her
fucking
own
thing you'll
I don't know
do.
how many hats
I
she is
didn't
going
come
to
this
burn,
far to
but
die
listen,
by a
she's
trigger.
creative
Happy
director, so I think it makes
American.
sense that she gets creative with her gameplay.
Okay. All right, that's Jenny.
Okay.
That
Enough.
is Jenny, and she'll be making at least
There's no point in fighting.
$309. So I guess
Not
I
anymore.
guess that would be more than $1 million.
I ought to put one through your fucking
Okay.
skull.
Tell me about Lydia.
Won't change anything.
Yeah, Lydia
I'd
is
still
one
be
of our
in this
younger
hell.
cast members.
Yes.
Don't
But
tempt
she
me.
is a waitress, actress, bartender.
We're heading
Suffice
back
to
to the
say, she
temple.
already knows.
Talented.
Tie him up.
She's a
tries
slashy, as the Aussies
Put him down.
would say. So though Lydia is younger, she is very independent. At the age of 20, she moved
After all we've been
cross-country
through?
on her own to pursue her dreams.
Thanks a lot.
Hey,
And considering
you
the
two boys
cast,
do this
she's
together?
really hoping
Of course
to
we did.
portray herself as like the
We
younger
fought it
sister
together and we won.
Yeah.
Jason,
Where'd she
we
move
need
to?
to talk about this
So
guy.
she moved to California.
Not
She's
now.
currently in Santa Monica, and
This
she's
plan's
from
To get on
Bust.
Survivor.
Whatever the hell happened to
specifically,
Joey,
she's
he's
one of those
gone.
people
And there
who,
fuck knows how many of those
Chelsea
things out
style,
there.
Lauren Beck style,
I say we
approach
pull
Jeff
back to the
Probst and say,
temple
get me
and
on your
regroup.
show. I have an eye-popping
That's the best
red
plan I
and
heard
white
all day.
floral shirt a la Shane Gould that'll
Yeah.
really catch your eye.
Yeah, she packed up the car and said, I'm headed out to California. Next time you'll see me, I'll be on Survivor. And look at her now.
Yeah, so we shall see. If you watch the commercials, I believe she is the one who has a sound clip of being like, I've only been camping at music festivals. Suffice it to say, I think there might be some crossover appeal. I know that probably Jonathan Young is one to fancy a music festival or two in his time, given his aesthetic, but we shall see how much Bonnaroo or Borneo ends up coming out in the beaches of Fiji.
Okay, and then who else is here?
All right, let's finish, I believe, with Mike. So Mike Turner is the oldest member of the cast at
yourself.
58 years
Yeah.
old. He is a retired firefighter from New Jersey as well. So again, something in the water.
Why don't
He
you tell
does
me
compare
everything you
himself
know
to
about
Tony
this
a
creature?
bit, right? That sort of like
You seen
bald-headed,
him before?
gruff exterior. But despite his look,
You know where they came from?
Mike sort of prides himself as a bit of a softie. Much like
Only
Ado
other down
Annie,
here.
he can't say no. So it'll
I
be
hope
really
you're a
interesting
believer,
to see
brother.
how he ends up doing here. He's
When
another
those
person
things
who's
come
like, I
back,
basically played Survivor my entire
don't
life.
need
You know, he
higher
grew up in
power
a not so great neighborhood, so like he essentially learned a lot of street smarts from the get-go. Those often pay off over the course of Survivor. So, listen, firefighters also have a great track record as of late on Survivor as well, so we shall see if he continues
My
to
name is
be
Lieutenant Colonel
continuing
Eric
that
King
trend.
of the United States
Mike,
Air
I haven't
Force.
crunched the numbers on
I'm the
any of this.
chief nuclear
This feels like a little bit of
engineer
an
of the
older
Iraq Survey
skewing
Group,
cast.
tasked
Do
with
we know
locating
in
hidden chemical
relation
weapons.
to Survivor 41? Is this about the
The
same
mission
or a little bit older?
has uncovered
That's a
something
good question. I feel like that's a Rob's fact
unexpected.
checker thing. I want to say probably older than Survivor
I will
41.
now begin an
I don't know how
autopsy
much
of an
older
unidentified
compared
life
to
form.
other casts. Like maybe, I believe like Survivor 31 might have been the oldest cast overall, but certainly up there. Like you have Mike, who is 58. You have people like Jenny and Mariah, my apologies, and Roxroy, and that are a little bit on the older side. You have a good swath of people in the middle, like your Zachs, your Swappies, your Lydias, your Jonathans that are in their 20s. So
Jonathan's 29. Not that young.
You know, when it comes to like capturing the quote-unquote later days aspect of Survivor, despite Survivor not playing into later days compared to the 39-day schedule, I think it's a good representation between 41 and now.
Mike, let's go back to a premise that you talked about earlier in the podcast about some of the twists that we can expect these 18 players to be dealing with here in Survivor 42. What do we know definitively at this hour?
Not a lot, right? What we can all sort of go off of, because I know I haven't done any interviews with Jeff Probst. I don't believe anyone has. If they will, it'll probably come out through, you know, Dalton and maybe some other people over the course of the next several weeks of preseason. What we really know from Jeff is that set at the Survivor 41 finale, as well as, you know, and some interviews leading up to it, is a lot of, we did a lot in 41, and we're doing a lot of similar things in Survivor 42. So I think what would be fun to do for our sake, Rob, is to try to, like, puzzle out, let's go through the list of kind of wackadoo things that happen in Survivor 41 and see what crosses over. Some things have been confirmed a bit if you watch the trailers, a lot has not, so we'll sort of like put our own production hats on and try to figure out what score. I'm not keep score, yeah, and these are also our further predictions, right? Like, people can come blast us on Twitter when it ends up showing up or not showing up.
You and me both know they're not all our enemies. Fuck.
Pineapple Boy 27 is going to be resurrected.
Listen, you come out in May and be like, Rob, you got 0 things right in your prediction show with Mike Bloom in February. Like, it says more about you than it does about me, okay?
Also, can I just say being wrong is underrated? Is that a hot take?
Put it in your spreadsheet, okay?
Yeah, exactly. But listen, for me, I love being wrong because it's
as a
one
matter of
thing
fact, it is.
If you are indeed wrong,
isn't it
then
getting
great,
on
you have like nowhere else to go. You knew where you're wrong, and that's fine. And if you're right, then fantastic. A broken clock is right twice a day.
If I was never wrong, nobody would listen to this podcast because it would be all spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. Think about it. This is really a sign that we are like two dum-dums in the dark right now. Not a shot in the dark. Just being like, I don't know what's going to happen, which is nice to do. It takes a little bit of pressure off of us, and if we're right, that's fantastic. We happen to luck into it. And if we're not, then we're surprised. So again, win-win.
An approximation, the creature is
all right.
8
Mike,
feet tall.
What are we talking about?
bipedal
What twists?
All right, so let's start. I just made like a
affixed
list
to
of the
its
things that
forelimbs
we
into the
underwent in Survivor
digits of
41.
its hands.
So we know that 3 tribes are
The dermis looks
confirmed,
to be
and I would imagine
smothered
that
in
we are
some sort
not
of
swapping the
excretion.
tribes up whatsoever.
Will we have
Underneath
a
it is.
tribe swap? I think that's a good question. Yes or no? Yes or no to a tribe swap?
I don't
Creatures
think
starting
so.
to rapidly decompose
I
in
think
death.
if they liked, it really depends on like Survivor 41 were sort of the guinea pigs again, as was referred to in some of those infamous behind-the-scenes things from 41. So
yeah,
you know, 41 was really interesting, especially with the UA stuff. So I would imagine that they're going to keep it separated.
Okay, I will say that I say we do that. Not necessarily a tribe swap. But I will say in the season, I could see them going down to 2 tribes before they go to the merge. So rather than go from 3 tribes to the merge, I could see, because we kind of got that in the fake merge episode where we divided them into 2 tribes kind of for an episode, that I could see maybe for an episode or 2, we go from 3 tribes to 2 tribes before we emerge.
Yeah, maybe, because when you think about the idea of the monster, right, of the most dangerous season ever, which will be really interesting to see if they continue to pump out that theming as well, of like, we want to give you the full, intense experience, right? Will the danger messaging continue? Obviously, we know that the monster is still a factor, but part of that danger and nowhere to hide stuff was keeping them in 3 tribes, right? Was going down to a tribe of 2 for the first time since Matt Singh. So I still think they're going to keep to that because, again, considering that they haven't really given much thought, not really much of a refractory period when it comes to like, oh, let's test the waters and see how the audience feels about it. I would imagine them just being like, yeah, this was interesting. Let's keep doing it again. So I'm going to err on the side of caution and say no swap.
Okay, I'll say they go from 3 to 2 to 1. I find that in the past, like I feel like that in terms of like the episode, like the cycles that they shoot like back to back, like I feel like that they do similar things but put like a little bit of a spin on it, and I feel like that could be the spin they put on doing 3 tribe season back to back. But let's actually do a stop at 2 tribes for an episode or 2.
So speaking of that, we have a 2-hour premiere similar to Survivor 41. Now, one of the many things I got wrong was I came on last year, right? And we were like, yeah, there's no way they're doing like a double boot in the premiere. They're going to do like 2 episodes crammed together. Was not the case. We were very surprised that there was a double tribal council in the first episode. Do you think we're doing the same thing here? Do you think we're having one tribe wins immunity, the other?
I feel very confident about this. I know nothing official. It will be a boot at the end of the first hour and a boot at the end of the second hour. And this is based off of
Why would you think
past
that?
precedent in Olympic years. I believe Gabon had this. I know Cagayan had this as well. I'm not sure if Ghost Island was also an Olympic year.
Ghost Island was an Olympic year, and they had the first 2 episodes.
But when they Game Changers may have been, but when they start the season this late, where we're playing catch up, there will be.
Let's do it.
I know nothing official, but Rob Sesternino speculates there will be a 2-hour premiere.
Again, they're definitely doing the same shit.
The first hour and a boot at the end of the second hour.
Interesting. I mean, listen, I was not mad at the way that they started 41 because it was a great way to like get to know the contestants, really brew them on their feet.
You
so
hear your brain
I think
taking
it's a
away.
really compelling argument. I'll be in the same boat with you on this.
Should have given them a second warning.
I mean, they could do the same thing again. I'm just in the past when they started this late.
I hadn't that. I'm through talking about
What I
this.
really enjoyed about Survivor 41
What's left to say?
because we had 2
You know that checkpoint was a prime target for suicide bombing. We had to act in the moment. We had to make a call.
Going on at those 2 camps. I feel like if instead we're doing like 2 1-hour episodes, that might be a little bit tougher. So it's like,
why is it that no one ever tells us straight?
2 1-hour episodes.
Everyone just makes up bullshit to get by.
Altogether,
that's why we're in the sandbox.
Because just look at the time frame of what do we have? What 13 episodes in the last season? So if we're premiering on March 9th, like
you seriously gonna tell me it didn't mess with you?
Survivor seasons aren't like don't go into late May.
Those demons down there will kill you. Demons in here will eat you from the inside out. You gotta let it go, man. I'm serious.
Oh, okay. When was that finale?
So that's you all moved on.
Yes, I have. I sure as hell have.
I know you're too good. When you lie, you always say things twice. First one to see how it flows. Second one to nail it down.
Mergatory hard merge episode that happened in 41. This might be a good way to shift it as well, because we had a double boot in the first episode, and we're like, how are they gonna? Are we gonna go to a final 4?
Are you serious?
This would be a way to sort of like balance things out.
Yeah, 2 people will definitely go home in the finale. We'll see if it'll be in 2 separate episode cycles, or if we have like in last season, where 1 tribe won immunity and the other 2 tribes went to tribal council.
All right, Rob, as you have pointed, Shipwheel Island.
Dropkick, this is Mailman 2-1 actual. We're at a stairwell leading down into a maze. Please advise, over.
Prisoner dilemma shenanigans. Is that coming back for season 14?
Just on the last point, May 17th was the Game Changers finale and reunion. Ghost Island was May 18th. The Edge of Extinction went all the way to May 19th. And Winners at War had its finale.
Oh, so she's still alive.
So that's as far out as you've gone.
Okay, yeah, so I think I'm not doing the math in my head.
I'm sorry. That's May 12th, 2020. So it was May 13th of 2020 was Game Changer. So yeah,
all 2020 runs together. It might just all be called 2020.
Ghost Island was finale was on May 23rd, 2018.
Cool visual.
Okay.
I think it's about that now. Okay.
I think we'll do something different than Shipwheel Island, but something like Shipwheel Island. Does that make sense? Like, I think that we will still maroon people together, but I don't think it will be exactly the same mechanism as Shipwheel Island.
And maybe it's going to be a bit closer to, like, that one-off thing that happened with Cindy and Tiffany and Brad, right? The, like, hey, let's get people together and do something a bit different, not just the, hey, go to the same place, turn the wheel.
How is there not gameplay here?
I'm not sure, but I could see something very similar, right down to the topography and everything, right? Like, have them climb that big-ass hill, get to the top, and then they make a decision. They might not do the exact, like, extra vote or risk your vote.